All right, welcome to our show. My name is Patrick Soluri from Prohibition Productions here in New York City, and we're so glad that you're joining us. Today is September 26th of this crazy year 2020, and we are doing yet another quarantine speakeasy. Today is episode number 15. It's hard to believe we are 6 months into the quarantine and pandemic, but we are so glad you are here today. We're trying to make the best of things, having some of our favorite performers and musicians and all kinds of things, and every show we seem to try out new things, and we're so glad you are here. And first thing, I want to give a special thank you to our DJ today. We have Chad Mills. He's a wonderful dancer and DJ, and he'll be spinning tunes at the end of the show and doing the after party. So we've got a great lineup today, and we're going to be having music by the legendary ragtime pianist Terry Waldo, and then we have Absinthe Cocktails by Don Spiro. And we're going to have the quartet of the Blue Vipers of Brooklyn. We shot them a few weeks ago in Central Park. And then we also have some tap dancing and sword swallowing by the one and only GIN MINSKY. And we will then wrap up with Queen Esther, and we recorded her a couple weeks ago on a secret rooftop. And then kind of a last minute thing, but our good friend Paul put together a tribute for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and we're going to do that towards the end of the show, and then we're going to finish with the after party with Chad Mills. So that's kind of the lay of the land. And as a reminder, we kindly ask everyone to send donations, and we share that amongst all the performers that you see tonight, and it is a very important thing. You know, everyone is obviously everyone is struggling, so give what you can. We ask $5 to $10 as a minimum. If you can do more, it's fantastic, because the musicians and performers are especially hard hit by all of this. But you know that, especially if you've seen the show before. And if you haven't seen the show before, or you missed some, we started our official YouTube channel a few weeks ago, and we have every episode now posted on the Prohibition Productions YouTube channel. And you can skip around. We set up chapters on all the videos, so if there's certain performers you want to see, just check it out. And we're going to be posting this show probably tomorrow, and tend to clean everything up a little bit, put some of the tweaks on the audio and the video, but it is also going to be available on Facebook, usually right after, since we do this live stream. And we actually will be accepting donations all the way through Sunday. So now that we're doing shows every other week, we try and give a wide time frame, since a lot of people watch the show after the live stream is done. But however you watch it, we are very glad that you are watching it, and please be sure to tell your friends. And you know, we're trying to build this. We've been doing pretty well. We have a nice audience here in the States and as well as overseas. And again, the donations can be sent to Prohibition Productions on PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. I put the information on the chat, which if you are on Zoom and watching on Zoom, you can hit the chat button, and then a little screen pops up so you can interact with us there. And early on, we asked for everyone to say hello, where you're watching from, and let's see who we have here tonight. We've got Lauren. She's watching. Hey, Lauren. Welcome back. And we've got Rachel in the Philly burbs. We've got Lily in Atlanta. And Lisa is back. Wonderful. Welcome back. And feel free to let us know where you are. We also put information on the chat. So if you're on Facebook and you want to join the Zoom, you can still do that. And that's the only way to join the after party at the end of the night. So without further ado, I think we should get going. We've got some great music today. And our first performer, his name is Terry Waldo, and he is just an amazing ragtime pianist, master ragtime pianist. He had, you know, a show on NPR radio in the 70s called This Is Ragtime, and he's performed all over and with just amazing people. And I first got to know him through some of our hot jazz friends, And then he had the fantastic Monday night jam session at the Rum House, which I used to go to often after our beer house finished, since that went pretty late into the night. But Terry's wonderful. He moved that Monday session from the Rum House, and obviously he's not performing now. But he did something rather incredible for us. He actually figured out video editing and how to shoot himself playing piano, and he put together a video for us, which we'll be showing. He played a couple of tunes, you know, he also does a weekly, I should say, it's a monthly podcast, and he's been doing that very regularly throughout the quarantine, and it's definitely worth checking out. So without further ado, why don't we get to Terry Waldo, and he's actually going to be doing a tribute to his teacher, but he'll tell you about it. He will do a much better job at it than I will. All right, take it away, Terry.
Hi folks, this is Terry Waldo, and I'm thrilled that Patrick asked me to be on his little broadcast here. And I've been putting together the cameras and the equipment and testing out my microphones and everything, trying to see if I could do this. This is the first time I've tried anything visual. I do have a podcast out, if those of you who are interested in hearing my music and hearing the stories about them. And you can check that out at This Is Ragtime Podcasts. And I thought there was no better way to start doing this than to play a tribute to my piano teacher, Eubie Blake. I was Eubie's protege and had a chance to spend a lot of time with him. I've written down a lot of his music, and so I thought maybe I'd play some songs by Eubie for this first ever video broadcast that I'm doing. So the first tune I'd like to play for you is one of his rags, and of course Eubie was known for ragtime. This was a piece that was his first published rag. It's called Chevy Chase from 1914. U.B. Blake was responsible for us calling the 1920s the jazz era, for he had the first Broadway show with blacks. In 1921, he wrote the music and put together a show called Shuffle Along. And it was so popular that it created an interest in black music that resulted in a lot of other black composers being able to write shows a little bit later than that. James P. Johnson had one in 1923. Fats Waller had a Broadway show in the late 20s. But this is the show that really launched the jazz age. And I'm going to play you a medley right now of several tunes that were in that show. The first one is called Good Night Angeline, and the second one is called Bandana Days. Then Love Will Find a Way. And Love Will Find a Way is very special. At the time that U.B. wrote this, it was the first time that blacks had been permitted to sing straight love songs on stage without doing caricatures. And U.B. told me that he was afraid there'd be riots that broke out when they had this just as a straight romantic song in the show. But that didn't happen. So the third song in this medley is Love Will Find a Way. And then the fourth song is the one that we still remember from Bugs Bunny cartoons and everywhere else. It's become part of the Great American Songbook songs. And that's I'm Just Wild About Harry. And I'll play you the way U.B. originally wrote it. It was a waltz, as he conceived it. And his leading lady, who was named Lottie G., refused to sing it as a waltz. She said, you can't have a waltz in a colored show. So she made him rewrite it as a one-step. And because of that, he was able to make money off of it for years and years. So here is the medley from Shuffle Along. This last song I'm going to play for you by Eubie Blake was a great American standard from 1930. It was in Blackbirds of 1930. The lyrics were by Andy Razzoff, who wrote so many lyrics with Fats Waller. And this was a theme of a lot of people, including Benny Goodman. And I'm going to play you the way Eubie showed me how to play it. And it's the great Memories of You.
All right, that once again is the one and only Terry Waldo, legendary ragtime pianist. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to join us live, but I guess not. I have to say, I'm pretty amazed. He literally spent all night editing that. He learned um, uh, how to edit on iMovie just this week, and he shot that, and it sounded amazing. It looked fantastic, and you can tell he's a true pianist because he wanted you to watch his fingers as he was playing, which is a lot of pianists do that. And I just wanted to mention, so Eubie Blake, who was his teacher and who he was giving a tribute to, If you don't know him, he almost was 100 years old by the time he passed away. So he was around from 1887 all the way to 1983, and the musical that he was talking about was in 1921. So I'm actually very curious when he studied with UB, and we'll have to get him on another time to talk about that. But as mentioned, he does have Terry has a podcast, which it looks like it's every 2 weeks, and it's called This Is Ragtime. And he has special guests and performances and music, and you can find that wherever you find podcasts. Again, that is Terry Waldo. Thrilled that he was able to do that and to join us. Fascinating, amazing person. And if when we get past the quarantine and pandemic, you definitely have to go see him playing live. His Monday jam session was at the Black Door in Chelsea, and hopefully that resumes once we are past all of this. So we're going to move along, and thank you, Terry, for shooting that, and for playing, and for sharing all your wisdom. And in our next segment, we're actually going to do some cocktailing. And one of our good friends is Don Spiro. And many of you know him from doing jazz age parties and things like that. And over the last couple of years, he actually started doing a monthly tasting of absinthe. And that became something that he really got great at. And I'm just going to switch cameras here. And Don Spiro runs the Green Fairy Society amongst a few other folks, and that's who does the absinthe tasting. So the video that we have here is of Don talking about absinthe and doing a very basic absinthe cocktail with a little bit of history thrown in. And Don couldn't be with us tonight, but he put this together for us and has some wonderful information. All right, so here we go with Don Spiro and a little bit on the absinthe cocktail.
Hi, I'm Don Spiro, coordinator of the Green Fairy Society's series of absinthe tastings, and I'm here to talk to you about absinthe. Now, I know there's a lot of misconceptions about absinthe. Some people think that wormwood, one of the herbs that's used in the making of absinthe, is a hallucinogen. It's not. Some people think absinthe is illegal. It isn't. So, why the misconceptions? Well, absinthe was one of the most popular beverages in Europe at the end of the 19th century. In fact, due to an epidemic in the vineyards, absinthe became even more popular than wine, and the wine industry was not too happy about that. So they started a marketing campaign against absinthe, telling people that it was bad for them, and they got absinthe banned for more than 80 years. Now, in this century, chemists have proven that there never was anything wrong with absinthe. In fact, a chemical in wormwood and sage, thujone, which people thought to be hallucinogenic, is not. Not that it matters, because absinthe has so little of it that the FDA considers absinthe to be thujone-free. Now, you know what absinthe isn't, so what is absinthe? Well, absinthe is a spirit, a liquor, just like whiskey or gin. In fact, it's made the same way distillers make gin. They take a variety of botanicals, different barks and roots and flowers, fruits, herbs, and other spices, and they soak them in a very high-proof alcohol to extract all their flavors. Then they distill it and get a brand new spirit. You can have any variety of botanicals, but if the predominant flavor is juniper berries, then your spirit is gin. If the flavor is what we call the holy trinity of absinthe, which is green anise, sweet fennel, and grand wormwood, Artemisia absinthium, you have absinthe. Now, right off the still, a spirit has a lot of alcohol, and all the flavors are dissolved in the alcohol. That's why most distillers will dilute their spirits before bottling to about half water and half spirit. This isn't just to save money. This is also so that you taste the flavors that the distiller wants you to taste. Now, not so with absinthe. Absinthe goes into the bottle at a very high proof. That means that it has a very high alcohol content, between 50 and 75% alcohol by volume, or 100 to 150 proof. That means that it's interactive. You get to dilute it to your taste as much as you want. And I'm going to show you how right now. It's going to start with an absinthe glass. There's a marking on the glass to show you how much you should pour in the absinthe, although you can always use just a wine glass at home. Let's do that. Now, I like my absinthe unsweetened, but traditionally you do add sugar, so I'll show you that. Starts with an absinthe spoon. You can see the slots there. That sets on top of your glass of absinthe. You take a sugar cube, put it on top, and if you're at a party or a bar that happens to have an absinthe fountain, the fountain would be filled with ice cold water, and you would turn on the faucet and it would slowly drip and dissolve your sugar and dilute your absinthe. But if you're at home, you can do what I do, is just have a carafe of ice cold water and do it that way. And I'll just slowly pour. Note that the color and the opacity are changing. This is from the anethol, as chemicals in the anise that were dissolved in the alcohol are coming out, along with different flavors. There we are. Ratio goes about 1 to 3 to 1 to 5 absinthe to water, depending on your taste. And there we are. Now, you might notice something that I did not do, which was light the absinthe on fire. In the late 20th century, when absinthe was still banned through most of Europe, people would go to Prague and Czechoslovakia for a lower quality of absinthe, which was basically wormwood soaked in a very high proof vodka with artificial flavors and artificial colors, and people drank it neat, and it was awful. So bartenders started lighting it on fire as a spectacle to sell more drinks and move more product. Hey, it was the 90s, but the 1990s, not the 1890s. Nobody 100 years ago was lighting their absinthe on fire, and I recommend that you don't do it either, unless you want to ruin a perfectly good absinthe. And this is a perfectly good absinthe. Santé. And back to you, Patrick.
All right, thanks so much, Don. And again, that is Don Spiro from the Green Fairy Society, and they do a monthly absinthe tasting, which is now being done online, and they have some very fine folks over there, wonderful vintage community, really into their absinthe, great stories. And there's just this allure about absinthe, so it's kind of wonderful to hear some of that. And there's some really cool artwork for absinthe from back in the day, that sort of Art Nouveau style. But I would recommend getting a bottle. I know I need to get a bottle. I'm only drinking bourbon at the moment, but I need to get some absinthe into my cabinet. But so we are going to move on to some music, and I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't done so already, please send along a donation. You can make it not only today, but also anytime over the next week, all the way through Sunday. And we very much appreciate that, and we share it amongst everyone. You can send it via PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle to us here at Prohibition Productions, and we'll split it amongst everyone. And if you're just joining us, welcome. My name is Patrick from Prohibition Productions, and this is the Quarantine Speakeasy, episode number 15, coming to you live from New York City. And we've got some of our favorite performers on, as we do every 2 weeks. And we still have a lot more in store for you today. And if you are joining us on Zoom, please send a hello in the chat. I want to say hi to Rich in San Antonio. And let's see, who else do we have here? Everyone seems to love Terry, of course. He's amazing. And we have Susan from Red Hook, and we have Rich. Thank you all for watching. And Up next, we are going to feature one of our favorite bands. It is the Blue Vipers of Brooklyn, and they are a hot jazz and swing band. They've been playing around for a long time. We feature them in a lot of our events. And Billy, the band leader, is just a kooky, wonderful, crazy, fantastic guy. And we had the pleasure of joining them in Central Park a few weeks ago. It was the first time that they were busking after 6 months. And he had a quartet for that. And then we got to speak with him a little bit afterwards. And, you know, why don't we just go to the video, and we've got some wonderful music and hearing some of the life story of Billy, which is pretty remarkable. So here we go, the Blue Vipers of Brooklyn.
So my name is Billy, and I am one of the founding member of the Blue Vipers of Brooklyn, a New York City swing band that's been around since, I guess 03, 04, somewhere along those lines. So yeah, we've been at it for a while, and it was kind of crazy being in Central Park today. I mean, it's sort of, for us, it's all about getting in touch with our roots today. This is really where we got started in New York City, playing in Central Park many, many moons ago. Yeah, I would honestly say this is the most I've sung and probably played banjo or guitar or anything for, wow, since March, since the quarantine started, since what some of my friends are referring to as Red Thursday. I think that was March 12th. That's when I also work as a tour guide, and that's when our whole industry just went kerplooey. So yeah. Falling all over town. Be sure your umbrella is upside down. Trade them in for packages of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, oh baby, you must take showers. So when you hear it thunder, boom, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and for me. Let it from heaven, yeah, yeah. Oh, trade them in for packages of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, thunder, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you, and pennies from heaven for you and me. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. If you like what you hear, please remember we do have a big tip jar. No waiting. Awesome. Thank you very much. We're going to play another hot tune for y'all. Well, how did the band start? Well, in the beginning, you heard this one before? Yeah. No, in the beginning, I came here in '01, and the first person I really played with was Tom Abbott. I haven't played with him for a while. And I was living in New Orleans, and it's 2001, and about a month after 9/11, I met this girl in New Orleans who said, "You want to go to New York?" I was 24 years old, and I said, "Okay, sure." And so I was walking through Washington Square Park, and I saw somebody playing saxophone, and I said, "Give me 5 seconds, I'm going to go grab my guitar." I had this place over on St. Mark's with this girl, right? So I ran back over there, and we started playing together, went back to New Orleans, bounced in and out for a few years, but kind of stayed in touch. And I think it was about '04, '05 when I finally just said, look, I want to stay in New York and make New York work. The band has gone through a few incarnations, to say the least, but yeah, I would say the band kind of started '01, '04, and in all honesty, the real purpose of the band was, the way that it started was the fact that I was playing on the streets in New Orleans, and I wanted to play on the streets in New York. I just wanted to find people who I could, have a band out here with. This is it. This is my element, honestly. Or at least it was for a long time. I think when I came to New York, a lot of people looked at playing on the street, and they were like, "You want to go play on the street? I can't believe it." Da, da, da. And then they realized that this could actually be pretty lucrative. And back before 2008, it really was. So, but by the time that had all hit, we had sort of established ourselves on like the swing dance scene and the wedding scene and all that kind of thing. So, our name? We're the Blue Vipers of Brooklyn. Awesome. No, really, you can look that up. We got a website and stuff. We're like legit. Yeah. We used to play weddings. We still do. It's cool. All right. Tiger Rag, bring us in, guys. I'm going to bring the tip jar kind of like around there. What key again? Starts on B flat. Ready? 1, 2. 1, 2. Snap, beat, do. Hold that tiger, hold that tiger. I was semi-homeless for most of the time I was in New Orleans, but I learned a lot of stuff. You know, I mean, that's where I really learned this repertoire. It was either by playing with different people or by listening to as many different people as I could. And I still have a lot of good friends down there. I always felt like there were more opportunities here. And I always felt like there was this really cool culture here that I really loved. I fell in love with this city. It certainly didn't work out with her, but I fell absolutely head over heels in love with this city. And I still am. I mean, even though I'm not as much of a full-time musician as I used to be, if anything is evidence of the fact that I love this city, my other job is, you know, back when tourists are coming here, I'm a tour guide. I basically walk around with people and tell them how excited I am about the place I live. That's my gig, you know? So it's not so much of like a why did I come here with this like sparkle in my eye, but after almost 20 years here, I can honestly say that I am still completely infatuated with this place for so many reasons.
Thank you very much. Grab your coat and get your hat, be flat. Leave your worries on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to that sunny side of the street. Can't you hear that pitter pat? That's a happy tune, honey baby, ain't that your step said? Life can be so sweet, sweet, on that sunny side of the street. I used to walk in that shade with my blues on parade. I ain't afraid this rover crossed over. I never ever said I'll be rich like Arunella or gold dust at my feet on that sunny, sunny side of the street. started singing because, my parents were devout Catholic, and we went to this tiny little country church. I grew up in Nebraska. And it's on a farm, like kind of in the middle of nowhere, and country church, and this is a true story. Where we went to church, there was still an outhouse. That's no joke. And my mom's gonna watch this, and she's gonna be like, "Yeah, that's true." And my grandparents sang in the choir, so as soon as I was old enough to read, I was old enough to be in the choir. Because they knew I could sing before then, so if I could read words in a book and sing those words, then I was in the choir. So that's kind of how it started. I learned a little bit of piano to start with. I think when I was about 12, I played a little guitar, but then when I was 16, I broke my leg. Didn't have anything to do other than sit and play guitar. So yeah, it's really kind of been a lifelong thing.
So how did you get into jazz then?
Oh, I was living in New Orleans, and it was a survival tactic. I'll be straight up. I'm not gonna joke about that.
So how did you end up in New Orleans?
Well, so when I was 19 years old, when I was 18, I hitchhiked around the U.S. for about a few months. And then when I was 19, I decided to join a carnival. So I wound up in New Orleans after being a carny for a summer, and decided I was gonna hang out. And I knew a few Bob Dylan songs. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I realized that was inadequate to do anything in New Orleans, but I still just kind of kept coming back, right? I was a real glutton for punishment. And so I would kind of watch these bands and listen to what they did. And there was some kind of hippie folky bands, and I was like, okay, maybe I can just do this. And I'd learn a little bit of a repertoire from those guys, right? But then I started to realize, I watched these guys who were playing the blues, right? Who were playing blues music. And I was like, you know what? Those guys eat every day, from the looks of it. So if I can learn a little bit of that repertoire, I'll be able to eat every day. And it didn't really work out that way. So I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna get them out of here, right? And I would bail and I'd go somewhere else, but I'd listen to that repertoire. And I'd just practice and practice and practice. Then I'd go back to New Orleans again. I'd just completely get my ass kicked by the city. And I was like, okay, maybe if I can learn these Sam Cooke tunes, I'll be able to eat every day in New Orleans. Maybe I'll even have a place one day. That kind of thing. As opposed to whatever it was I was doing. I slept in this school bus owned by these two jugglers for a while. That was insane. And so I'm doing that, and it's okay. It didn't really work out. So I would take off again, but I'd study the repertoire. I'd study and study and study and study. Then I'd come back, and finally I saw the jazz guys. You know what? These guys eat more consistently than anybody. Some of them are even fat if they ain't smoking crack. And so if I can learn that music, then I'll be okay. And I just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it. I came and I went, and I came and I went, and I came and I went. And finally I got tired of getting my ass kicked by that city so much. And I just stayed away, but I had this whole repertoire that was a survival tactic that I had picked up over, 4 or 5 years. honesty, like today, just like hanging out on this bench and playing in the park was pretty cool, to say the least. Yeah, this is great. This is my element. For a long time, this was my element. And if I could just like, play the street and hang out and just play my friends' weddings, that'd be rad. But
All right, that's Billy and the Blue Vipers of Brooklyn, and we actually have Billy here live, and we're going to go chat with. How's it going, Billy?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, hey. So, first question: was your mom watching, and did she confirm the outhouse?
I don't know if she was watching. I guess like they're still kind of like out in the boonies, and the reception ain't real good out there. So maybe she'll see like the later version of this. You know what I mean?
Man,
if you want her to confirm the outhouse, I mean, I can like make some calls.
Like a double verify kind of thing.
Yeah. I still have splinter scars.
Man, I have to say, I really appreciated your interview. I mean, just like the background of how you got here. I think it's just fascinating because like growing up here, you sort of don't realize that people make such a choice to come here. And
Oh yeah.
and just your
Wasn't that the whole like? There's a whole line about that in like E.B. White's "This Is New York." It's the transplants that really make the. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So actually tell us about we didn't get to hear who all the musicians were in the band.
Okay, so we had the guy with the spectacular stash was Ricky Alexander. Come on, that was a
That
pretty
should be a great band name, Ricky Stash.
Ricky Stash. Ricky Stash is pretty good, yeah.
Proper band, I think.
We had let's see, George Rush on the bass. He plays with all kinds of different cats. He does a lot of theater stuff. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, he's around. Like you can Google him and stuff. Let's see. And Sam Hoyt. And yeah, Sam worked with us for a long time, and I know he was doing a lot of big band stuff. I think he did some recordings with Glenn Kreitzer here and there. But I know like one of his main gigs was, and is starting to be again, which is mildly terrifying, is the Hasidic wedding circuit.
Yes, I've got a friend that does that as well, and they were working a lot up until the holiday season, and
Yeah.
like 2-3 gigs a week, even like backyard weddings and things like that.
Oh yeah, I mean they were getting busted and stuff. They were, but when it was all going down in April, like Sam was getting calls until the police were getting calls.
How
No
jazzed.
joke.
So have you guys we actually shot that video. I didn't realize it, but it was about
That's
a
cool.
month ago. Have you been playing in the park regularly since then?
No, we only did it like one more time, and I kind of have like a busy schedule. Other than that, I've been kind of like doing a full-time student type thing, so which has been really cool. But once things ease up a little more, then perhaps I will be on the busking circuit again. I'll be on the bench rotation.
Well, I have to say, after 6 months, the band sounded awesome. I mean, just going through and editing those videos and just, you guys were swinging.
Well, that was some really nice camera work, by the way, I have to say.
Thanks.
And
Oh,
I think everyone needs to appreciate your camera work because that was pretty slick. I mean, did you use all the stuff from the big camera, or did you use any of the little camera stuff?
I used a little bit from the little camera.
Okay, cool.
The and like huge thanks and props for Young letting me borrow that to come out and shoot you guys. And
Yeah, that was really groovy.
yeah, and it's a nice setup with that and the stereo. I mean, that's just a stereo mic plugged into the camera and a little, post afterwards, but it's a solid sound. I mean, you guys sound amazing acoustically, so it's just easy to do. And
Yeah, it looked really good, and the video quality was nice. And I mean, you could just count every hair on Ricky Alexander's mustache. And
what count did you get? Because we can call her Bookie and see,
place your bets, place your bets.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have anything else coming up you want to tell us about, or?
I don't know. I mean, not really. Everybody's just kind of waiting to see what happens. It's everyone is so up in the air. Just something I wanted to mention, and I'm curious as to how other musicians are feeling about this. But Adrian Cunningham has recently returned to New York City, and it's like he was over in Europe for a while, but he has to be here a certain amount of time every year to get his green card, right? So I'm kind of curious as to how he's going to make it work to be here.
Good.
As all of us musicians are wondering how we're going to make it work. Not just musicians either. But yeah, I don't know exactly what's going to be going with that. So Adrian needs gigs, so you should call him, but don't tell him I said that. And
We're actually going to have him on the show coming up. I know he was visiting, I think his girlfriend in Spain for a while, and he actually shot some footage for us. And I think it's either the next show or the show after that, depending on when he gets it to us. We're going to do sort of like him in Spain. He's been in Barcelona, and yeah, he was playing some stuff there. But I think he got out in good timing because it seems to be coming back over there. So,
Well, that's all right. We'll have our own comeback here. Just you wait and see. But we're number one.
Sure.
Anyway.
Well, man, on that note, thank you for.
Somebody just said, "What am I studying?"
Oh, yeah.
I'm just gonna say I'm doing. I'm doing like a 2 certificate programs, one through NYU on historic preservation. So I'm looking at like old buildings, and then I'm doing botany over at the New York Botanical Gardens. So cool stuff. Enjoying it.
I have to say, New Yorker, just how much we could see how much you love this city is pretty amazing. It's just, it's actually really refreshing to see that still has you, and it just.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you think about this, do you know the podcast The Bowery Boys?
No, I mean I've heard of it. I haven't watched it.
The Bowery Boys are like probably the premier New York City history podcast, right? These guys actually host the awards ceremony for the Guides Association of New York. And they are considered like the knowledgeable dudes. Like if I need to know something about a topic, I'll listen to a Bowery Boys podcast. And they're just like these 2 guys from like small town Missouri that moved here 20 years ago. So there you go. It is us who choose to live here.
Yeah.
It really, we make the choice. We make the choice.
Well, when you get back to tour, I'll have to join. I'd actually be curious to hear you doing your thing.
I'll do that I'll be doing like a banjo.
Okay.
A banjo tour. That would be pretty cool. I could do that.
Banjo tour. Is that free or?
I have to pay you.
Insert banjo jokes here.
There are many. Well, on that note, I'm sure you have 1,000 other guests.
We have just a couple more. We actually have GIN MINSKY coming up, and we have Queen Esther. And, we actually shot enough material that probably in the winter time, we're going to be able to do a whole other round of tunes that we didn't do this time. So we've got some more for y'all of the Blue Vipers. But
all right, cool.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you, Billy, and good to see you, and thank you for playing and spreading your wisdom and historic info.
Thank you. Peace and prosperity. That's how we got to do it now. All right. That's going to be a thing. Have a great night, dude. See you next time.
All right. Take care. All right. Again, that is Billy from the Blue Vipers of Brooklyn, and good to chat with him and hear them playing in Central Park. And that was some stuff we shot of the band just a few weeks ago. And up next we have GIN MINSKY, and many of you know her as one of the Minsky sisters. She's performed at many of our events over the years, and when the other Minsky sister Kristen moved away to Rhode Island, Jen started performing on her own as GIN MINSKY. And she's really evolved from burlesque into tap dancing and sword swallowing, and she's just something. And she couldn't be here tonight, but she's going to tell us a little bit about that. So we've got a short interview of her on camera, and then we're going to have a performance of her. It's not a burlesque performance; it's a tap and sword swallowing performance. So here we go with GIN MINSKY.
Hi, I'm GIN MINSKY. I am a tap dancer, a burlesque performer, and a sword swallower based here in Brooklyn, New York. I first got my start on the stage at 5 years old in my small town of Massachusetts, where I studied dance for my entire life, for my entire childhood. I studied tap, jazz, ballet, point, modern. Truth be told, tap was actually my least favorite subject. I wanted to be a modern dancer. I was very serious, and I thought that was what I was going to do. I thought tap was very silly and frivolous, and it wasn't until university that I really grew to appreciate the art form. There I met Kristen Minsky, who some of you may know as my other half in the Minsky sisters, and I also met Dandy Wellington, who some of you may also know. I knew him before he was Dandy Wellington. The three of us, we bonded over our love of movie musicals. We discovered the vintage scene together. And when Kristen and I started to form the Minsky sisters and started performing, Dandy actually choreographed the first few numbers of ours. And from there, Kristen and I, the Minsky sisters, we started performing all over the New York nightlife scene. And within nightlife, we were a part of a lot of burlesque shows and variety shows, and we saw lots and lots of striptease numbers and sideshow performers, and it opened me up to this whole world. When Kristen had to move to Providence a few years into our career, Shen Lee of Dances of Vice asked me, hey, do you want to do a solo performance? And my first thought was, oh yeah, I'll just do a tap and strip. And that was my entrance into the burlesque world. I actually didn't even have a second thought about it. It was just second nature to just do this number. I had spent so much time watching burlesque and with burlesque performers and talking to them about their craft that it was something very easy for me just to transition into. A lot of people do ask, though, how do I get into burlesque? And my biggest suggestion is sign up for some classes with the New York School of Burlesque. I know it's very hard right now because everything is virtual. However, they're teaching some really great virtual classes. I highly recommend Jezebel Express. She's an amazing teacher. She's been teaching for many years and has put many burlesque stars on the stage. I highly recommend it. And when the world opens back up, just see as much burlesque as you can. Study your history, know the burlesque legends of the past, and know the burlesque legends of the current time, and know who's on the stage and who's doing what. And go out there, meet people, talk to people. And that's the best way to get into this world. And some people ask, why sword swallowing? How did you get into sword swallowing? And as I mentioned, in nightlife, I had exposure to all these different art forms, and some of that was sword swallowing and sideshow. And someone I really looked up to and admired was a sideshow performer by the name of Todd Robbins. Todd is an amazing performer. He's a ragtime piano player, a magician, and eats light bulbs and sword swallows, but he does it with an air of elegance, and I really admired that. He can take something really disgusting like hammering a nail into his nose or swallowing a blade of steel and does it in a three-piece suit, very elegant, and I just loved that juxtaposition. And as you can see, my aesthetic is high glamour, and I really wanted to see how I could marry those two together and do it in my style. So Todd was very generous and taught me everything he knows, and it took me a solid year to learn the art of sword swallowing. I do not recommend it. is very difficult and not easy. There's a lot of gagging and dry heaving involved when you're starting. But a year later, I put it on stage for the first time, and here I am now. I think the world's only tapping, stripping sword swallower.
Dark eyes in my dreams, I was sad it seems, and the sky turned gray when you came my way. All at once I knew the sky turned blue. My dream came true, for they brought me you.
right, that is GIN MINSKY, and the only tap dancing, burlesquing, sword swallowing performer out there. And I have to say, I'm pretty sure one of the first times she did that was at the beer house, and nobody knew that I was coming. And she jumped up onto a table, was tap dancing on the table, and then hidden in her dress was that sword, and she pulled it out and then swallowed it, and everyone went friggin' bananas. And then if you caught it, the cherry that she swallows at the beginning with that drink comes out at the end at the tip of the sword. Crazy. Not even sure how that's happening. But GIN MINSKY, amazing. And I didn't quite put this together until she said it, but I'm pretty sure she's the one that introduced us to Dandy Wellington, who's been hosting a lot of our larger events for years. I mean, must have. I remember the first time he hosted one of our events was at the Players Club, probably 8 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that. And it's a small world, and it's good to have everyone here. So we're going to move along, and up next we're going to have the one and only Queen Esther. But I want to remind everybody, if you have not done so already, we would kindly ask for donations. We will share that amongst all of our performers tonight, and you can send it through PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle to Prohibition Productions. And we'll be accepting donations not only tonight, but for the entire week all the way through Sunday. And we thank everyone that has donated already. And we want to thank you all for watching and for joining. And let us know where you're coming from on the chat on the side. And yeah, Lauren was there for that beer house performance and vouched that it was unspeakably fantastic. It was indeed. No one knew it was coming. It was insane. And GIN MINSKY, fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. All right, so up next is Queen Esther, and she is another amazing performer. I remember first seeing her right when I was starting to swing dance. She was performing with the Yallop and Hounds, I believe. And then she had her band, the Hot Five, and she's just an amazing, amazing person, wonderful musician, and we're so lucky to have her. So I'm going to bring her up. She is actually here, going to chat with us live. And how's it going, Queen?
Hey. I'm loving the show. I'm having so much fun just watching. This is great.
Yeah, I saw your eyes with the absinthe and all the other stuff, and it's just like,
oh yeah. Yeah, I'm such a fan. I'm like, oh, this is great. Yeah. I've been to those absinthe nights. I miss it. In the Red Room, you show up in vintage lingerie, you can get in for free.
It's a good part.
I know. I think something happened one night and I actually won the contraption that you use that lets the water drip down and everything. Yeah, it was, and I took it home and Douglas was like, I don't know what to do with this. And he used to be a bartender. What? He's like, we'll figure it out. Well, it's like the absinthe thing.
Do you have any absinthe now at home?
No.
Okay. When's your birthday?
I went to, I know, right? In June. We went to Berlin and I went to a shop that was
the absinthe shop in Berlin.
Yes. Stop it. Do you have what you have?
You're right.
That's it. That is it. That is exactly it.
Yeah, I used to live near that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in Mitte.
Oh, that's right, in the Mitte, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go to Berlin. We used to. Quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, Don just joined us. I know he was busy earlier, but I just saw him posting on earlier, so I'm sure he appreciates you talking.
I always have fun there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a peach.
Yeah. So,
and GIN MINSKY's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Let's not leave her out.
We do all right. We get good people.
It's okay. It's wonderful what the scene has turned into. I remember when everyone was like, wow, I just want to learn 8-count swing out, I just want to get really good at that. I want to, and everyone would partner up. I remember Sandra Cameron, Dance Center.
Yeah.
And there would be some brie and some green apples and some wine from somewhere, I don't know, and a DJ spinning, and everyone was just so eager to get it right, to
It's
just
also
dance,
interesting
dance,
how
dance.
it was like back then it was just the loungers and the swing dancers. It was like there weren't that many other options, and now it's kind of like you've got the vintage crew and you've got Lindy hoppers and you've got balboa dancers and you've got shaggers and you've got like all these like sub genres and
The
subcultures.
shaggers are tremendous. You're right. That's true. The Balboa people. I totally forgot about that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was just lounge and swing. You're absolutely right. But now there's everything. There's rockabilly. I mean,
Hmm.
good grief.
Hmm.
You just get dressed and run out of the house and have a ball in the before times.
Four times, and we'll see what happens in the after times.
We'll see what happens in the after times.
But the now times. So how was it playing on the rooftop? I thought that was such an interesting experience, and it was. It won't look like it, but it was just this spontaneous thing. Queen didn't. She just like showed up, asked a couple of musicians that were there for the other bands, and they just played, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I guess we didn't really plan that, did we?
No,
I didn't. It just, as you're
I was
saying
worried,
that,
but I wasn't because I knew you and I knew everyone there. I was like, they'll figure it out.
yeah, it just dawned on me. I guess we didn't sit down and go, okay, what are we doing? But, you know, uh, it's like when everyone has the same aesthetic and you have the same record collection and you just have this understanding and you've played together before and it just comes together like well-whipped meringue. You know, it's not like I've never met these people. you know, we've done this on a million gigs, at a million bar mitzvahs, at a million weddings, at a million events, at a million private parties, a million speakeasies. Let's do it on a rooftop. That's what it felt like. It felt like old home week.
Mm.
I really hope we can get back to that. And then you just lose yourself in the music. I start listening to other people's solos and the bass line and, the songs themselves. It just makes me so happy.
Yeah,
It's a joyous thing. Music is spiritual.
yeah,
And to be on the rooftop, out in the open, I mean, that roof was always special anyway. It was always special anyway. But to not have done it for a while and then to go back to it is just, you
yeah,
know,
yeah. It was quite a night. We shot three bands, and it was just a closed off private thing, not open to the public. Obviously, we had to keep it safe, and we just had a few hours, and we just all played some music. So you haven't seen this. I didn't show it to you, did I?
I have not seen this. I'm a little nervous.
Well, shall we?
Yeah, let's shall.
Let's shall. Okay, we shall with Queen Esther, and here we go.
Hello. My name is Queen Esther. I am a vocalist. I'm a band leader. I am a songwriter, a lyricist, a wordsmith, a writer of stuff, lots of stuff. And a musician and a solo performer, musical theater nerd. I'm a professional black girl. It's my superhero. That's my superpower. I'm a black woman. And I live in New York. I'm a Southerner that lives in New York.
So tell me about that. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. And I went to school, did most of my undergrad at UT Austin, so I'm an honorary Texan, hook 'em horns. And then I got tired of being a big fish in a small pond, and I moved to New York City, and I became a very tiny, tiny fish in an ocean of creativity and spontaneity and grit and funk and all that.
Justin, you got a sweet intro?
Are we rolling? 1, 2, 1. 3. It must have been moon glow way up in the blue. It must have been moon glow that led me straight to you. I still hear you saying, dear one, hold me fast. And I started praying, oh Lord, please let this last. We seem to float right through the air. Heavenly sounds were coming from everywhere. And now when there's moon glow way up in the blue, I remember that moon glow gave me you. We seem to float right through the air. Heavenly sounds were coming from everywhere. And now when there's moon glow way up in the blue, I always remember that moon glow gave me you. I moved to New York because I always wanted to live in New York. I always dreamed of living in New York. New York was like some weird mirage or an emerald city in the distance. And I knew that my destiny was here, that this is where I could truly be myself, that I would be challenged creatively, that I would meet people who were great at what they did, that I would be constantly in the presence of greatness. I don't think that you can be great at something if you're not surrounded by greatness, if you don't encourage that presence in your life somewhere. You know, when I was really, really broke and living hand to mouth in an SRO on the Upper West Side, I could still get on a crosstown bus or walk. That's right. All the way across the park to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and give them a quarter or a nickel or whatever loose change I had, because it was pay what you wish, and I could stand in the presence of great art. I could see the art in front of me that I've been reading about and hearing about and looking at in books and, you know, wondering about. You know, reading essays about certain pieces of art, certain photographers. You know that you're in the presence of greatness. You know, then you know that you can find it in yourself and reach for great things. And that is ultimately what I wanted. I remember when I first came to New York having this really cool conversation with what I call an acolyte. Alvin Ailey dancers, they're all acolytes. They really are. And they said to me, when you have a talent, it's a sin to not do anything with it. It's a sin. And that made perfect sense to me. I've got to do all that I can with everything that I've got. And I didn't think that I could do that where I was, but I knew somehow that I could do that in New York. I mean, everything is pushing you towards that end. Everything. Pressure makes diamonds, right? Pressure. This is a pressure chamber. It really is, especially if you're not from here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Every star above knows the one I love, sweet Sue. It's you. And the moon up high knows the reason why. It's you, sweet Sue. No one else, it seems, ever shares my dreams. Without you here, I don't know what I'd do. In this heart of mine, you live all the time, sweet Sue. It's you. I can't remember not singing. I think I've always sung. I think I've always had notes sailing out of me. I grew up in a church where everybody sang and everybody took everything that they had in them and just praised God with it. So singing was just second nature. Everyone around me was constantly singing. I guess as a little kid, you just chime in, and the next thing you know, you're in a choir, and that requires you to listen to other people's voices, to harmonize. You develop that ear, and then the next thing you know, I'm in a performing arts high school, and I'm singing things formally and sight reading, and having to learn Handel's Messiah, or Messa di Gloria, or by Puccini, or all of these things that seemed so remote. That's just every day, along with everything else. Your ear just gets bent, it gets acclimated. And the singing is a constant, but it was never really what I wanted to do. I really wanted to be a theater actor. I did not want to sing. Singing, I thought, was something that I'd need to be good at in case someone put me in a musical. But it wasn't like, I'm gonna go sing and write songs and play instruments and make records. That was never a part of the plan. The plan was, I'm gonna go to New York, I'm gonna audition, I'm gonna get in the chorus of a Broadway show, and that's it. I'm gonna just have my New York life. I'll get a cool apartment, and and that's it. I'll just live. I'll go from one Broadway show to the next. And that never happened. It never happened. I auditioned, I got 5 and 6 callbacks. I workshopped this show or that show, but I never actually got a Broadway show. And you know what? Every single day when I wake up, I put my hand on my heart and I thank God Almighty that I didn't get it. I really do. Because I had so much more on my mind and in my heart and in my way. I had so many ideas that I didn't even know how to bring to fruition. I was like a Roman candle going off in all these different directions. I can remember my mentor sitting me down at one point and telling me, "You're not dreaming big enough. you're not asking for enough. You should ask the universe for more, because you're capable of so much more than you're asking for.
Wow.
It's like, do you think that, or do you not think that you're worthy of more? Then it was a question of, well, yes, I do. And what is more? What does that mean? And what does success look like for me? And I want to reach beyond whatever it is that's in front of me. And then once you start reaching, you start getting. I mean, working with James Blood Ulmer, who is a titan, an icon, a game changer, working with him changed my life. You know, it seriously shifted everything and gave me this completely different perspective on things. I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In a small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut tree, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's bright and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun. When the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's bright and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun and when the night is new. I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. I remember the first solo show that I did, I realized, wow, I don't have to wait for the phone to ring. If I want to work, all I have to do is come up with a show, come up with an idea, and then take it to the theater and just put it up and do it. I just come up with ideas and do it. And for a long time that worked until things got gutted and funding fell out and theaters closed, and I shifted gears and just came up with another idea all over again. So I started writing songs and making records and putting together bands, and you go back and forth. I would bounce back and forth from one muse to another, from one genre to another, and after a certain point I got good at falling down and getting back up. It's kind of like when you take a cat and you throw a cat up in the air and it just lands on its feet. If you fall down enough, you get good at falling down and landing on your feet. You get good at it. You get good at falling, you get good at failing, you get good at trying, you get good at experimenting, and I'm always out of my depth. I'm always out of my depth. I'm always on my tippy toes and reaching, and barely touching what it is that I want. Everybody's better than me, everybody's stronger than me and faster, and everybody's got a better ear, and everybody plays better and sings better, and I'm just like this little kid standing at the counter looking up at all of these giants around me, and I'm just trying to reach. But that's where you grow. That's how you grow. So I can't feel bad about being lousy at so much of what there is that I'm exploring, because I wouldn't be growing and doing as much as I do, and getting better at it exponentially if I didn't.
Yes, Queen Esther. Awesome.
Holy cow. I totally forgot I said all that stuff.
Yeah, that was just on Thursday? Wednesday?
That was just on a Thursday, and you know what? I don't take it back. I mean, it's true. It's all of it's true. It's really true. I'm learning how to play the ukulele right now, and I'm lousy. But, I'm getting better at it. I'm growing, and I really, really love it. It sounds like a little harp.
Yeah.
So,
but it's also just like those words are so true for right now. I mean, I think it is a struggle, and it is hard, and we have to push ourselves, and
yeah, I mean, these are the times that our grandparents talked about. There's a certain steely resolve that everyone's grandparents or people of a certain generation have because of the things that they saw and they lived through. And we're about to live through some of that.
And we have been.
We have been living through some of that.
In the middle.
Yeah. My father would constantly talk about the way that things were and what happened. And he and his siblings were like living history books. And now here we are.
Mm-hmm. And in the middle of that, you sang that set. Those, awesome performances were single takes, 3 songs, that was it, 1 take each. And it was...
Was it single takes, really?
Yeah. Remember, we were fighting the sunset.
Oh, that's right. Yes, they were.
And you guys were just, that last tune is gorgeous. It's just amazing.
Yes, that's right. We were fighting the sunset. I remember now. I didn't think we were going to make it. But, it was just at the same time, it was so laid back. It didn't feel rushed or anything like that. We just let it happen, amongst us. And then kaboom, there it is.
Yeah.
That was lovely. I totally forgot. That's the way we did it.
Yeah. That was just, what? That was on September 8th. So, what, 3 weeks ago?
That was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Technology.
Yeah. By the way, how did Douglas like those cannolis from Thursday from Rocco's?
Loved them. And this morning we had that hickory bacon.
Yeah.
And last night I made Moroccan red lentil soup, and the lamb sausage was incredible.
Right.
What is the name of that place? I can't even remember. I took a picture of the place that we went because I was afraid that I would not remember where it was.
It's
The best
yeah, Florence Meat Market. So,
Florence, Italy.
so the next show, I'm going to do a little sneak preview here, but the next show we're going to be doing the second installment of our Lindy Kitchen, which is a new segment for dancers and musicians talking about what they cook at home. And what we did is I knew that Queen, we never shot the interview of Queen on the rooftop because we were fighting the sunset. We just had to we had 3 bands to shoot that one evening. So we just shot the bands and we didn't do interviews. So on one of these shows, it might have been the Juneteenth show. We were talking about food because we were killing time waiting.
That's right. Yes.
We're waiting for those guys from New Orleans to show up.
That's right.
We got talking. We were talking about food, and then we were talking about some of the Italian stores down in Little Italy. And you're like, well, we got to go there sometime. So we went there on Thursday, shot your interview, which was at Little Park right on Bleecker and 6th Avenue.
That's right.
And then next show, we're going to feature a little segment of Queen and I walking through the West Village, hitting up some
shopping.
Shopping.
That was a treat. That pasta is going to get eaten tomorrow.
Oh, we did that last night. Jamie made some meatballs. I made a red sauce from tomatoes, and we had the fresh cut rosemary pasta. It was amazing. And that's dinner tonight, leftovers afterwards. Second day meatballs. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait.
Second day meatballs. I can't wait till we start having dinner parties again.
Uh-huh.
Just everybody coming over and hanging out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hungry talking about it.
I know. I have to, this is a shameless plug. I have to tell everybody about 3 things. Number 1, I've got a website called ampled.com. You can come on and be a part of my little community where I post recipes, book lists. I know. I feel like if someone's going to join me on ample.com, then I should give them a really good biscuit recipe. I'm putting up a biscuit,
Okay.
a sweet potato biscuits recipe. It's really good. Something for the winter, something to comfort you.
We need it.
I know, a little comfort. Maybe I should put up a sausage gravy recipe as well. Something to go with
Yes,
the biscuits. Yeah?
And
Okay.
film it for Lindy Kitchen. Just saying.
Yeah, I could do that. A sausage cream gravy. It's terrible. Okay, the next thing is I'm actually working on 2 albums. They're getting mixed and mastered. The first one is Gild the Black Lily, which is Black Americana, Black country music. And the second one is Things Are Looking Up. It is the jazz album that I've been working on for so long. It's Billie Holiday's rare sides and original songs. So as soon as that's available, you're getting the first one.
Yes, please.
The last thing is, least of all, I'm doing a recording on the 4th of October. It's bespoke in Brooklyn. Each recording is hand cut on vinyl, singular to the individual, just like Elvis, that record that Elvis made for his mama. That's it. They send them out up by the 10th.
So if I get this, people can request a song and it's recorded straight to vinyl. You're going to record it for them straight to vinyl.
Straight to vinyl. But it's not any song. There's actually a song list, a couple of original songs that are Black Americana. I threw in a Billie Holiday song, Baby I Don't Cry Over You, which is completely unexpected from her. But yeah, there's a song list and everything. If you go to least of all, leestavall.com. And yeah, I should put that in the
Done. Yeah,
chat.
yeah, definitely puts it there. So when do people have to order it by in order to get? It's a 1 day session, right? That they have
So
to.
1 day session. I'm going to be in there for 2 or 3 hours singing my brains out. It's going to happen on the 4th. So I guess if you get it in there by the 2nd or 3rd, you should be cool.
So that's a week. So you have 1 week. Today is the 26th. October 4th is a Sunday, right? So you have 1 week to place your orders to get a
Yes.
custom straight to vinyl recording of Queen Esther.
Yeah, I think that'd be a pretty cool Christmas present. I will sing to you and you alone. I'll be like, Patrick, this song is for you.
Is it about biscuits and sausage gravy? Because I'm all in.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Someone said that to me. They were like, what kind of things are you posting on Ampled? And I'm like, well, I'm posting recipes. I'm posting the stuff that I would want. You know what I mean? I'm writing essays and little snippets of songs and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, Queen, I think we got to get going and on. I know, but the next thing is actually really amazing, and it ties in actually so much into some of the stuff you were talking about, and just the living history, and but thank you so much for sharing yourself, your music, your food, and
thanks for having me. This is awesome. I love the community. I love every aspect, each little part of the swing community and the whole of it. It is just, I miss speakeasies. I miss singing to everybody. I really miss it a lot.
And we miss you and hearing you sing to all of us, and we can't wait for that to happen in the real life soon. But on that note, thank you, Queen. And again, this is Queen Esther, and she's got this straight to vinyl live recording session coming up at next week. So if you are interested, please check that out. We posted about it in our e-blast that just went out. It'll come out again this Thursday. And actually, those recordings are only $25 to get a custom recording by Queen Esther on a unique one-only vinyl. It's a pretty old school process, pretty cool stuff. And we'll be posting the performance of Queen Esther and everyone else that you're seeing tonight. It'll be on our YouTube channel probably tomorrow, and it'll be on Facebook here afterwards.
Awesome.
And yeah. And so we have one more thing coming up. This was not part of the plan, but obviously one of the big things that happened recently is the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And our good friend Paul, who is event producer and a great guy, grew up in D.C. and he and his family were actually close to RBG, and he put together a tribute for us. So we're just gonna quickly shoot over to Paul. He just jumped on a few minutes ago and say a few words, and we've actually got he put together a beautiful video tribute which we're gonna play in just a minute. So let's go over to Paul. How's it going, Paul?
Hey, Patrick. It's good to see you after so long, and obviously during a troubled time. Here you've got two fans who are religious watchers of your show. So it's really good to see you. I apologize for my current attire. I actually wanted to be
shocking.
I wanted to be wearing my my notorious RBG t-shirt. But the problem is, after 8 months in quarantine, I don't fit in it anymore. And so that's...
Are you going to boil up for us?
Well, it's a problem. I'm not going to lie. But I had a little story about it, because when RBG and I were very close, and my family were very close to her. When I searched online for this t-shirt, and because I kind of wanted to prank her a bit, like, when she was over at dinner or whatever, and I searched everywhere online for them, but they were all sold out, or they weren't making any more after they made like the original run or whatever it is. And I mentioned it to her one day, and she said, she asked me, she was like, "What size are you?" And I was like, "I'm a medium," or was a medium. And she sent me one. She sent me one, if you can believe it. I got it like in a little like little like FedEx package, like, and from her own personal inventory. And I was like, wow, apparently she bought up a bunch of them just to give away as prank gifts for whoever she wanted. But no, and I thought kind of, I'll also mention another story, another personal story. By the way, I am drinking. If anyone who's watching wants to have a little taste of RBG, I'm drinking her favorite drink, which was 1 part Campari, if you can believe that, and 2 parts seltzer. So, and I'm not sure why she liked it so much, but she loved it, and man, she could put it away.
Bitter and effervescent.
But I'm sorry?
It's a little bitter and a little effervescent,
Well, as were her opinions, her judicial opinions, that is. No, but I wanted to mention a story that I thought was funny. And it was the time that she was almost arrested in Europe for literally smuggling a knife onto the plane. And she wasn't actually trying to like smuggle a knife onto a plane, but she had been using Marty, who was her late husband, his suitcase, and he was a chef with a published cookbook and all, and we have it. And he had left one of his like massive meat cleavers in one of the pockets of the suitcase. And for him it was a very special item, and it was like his like big thing, and she was forced to give it up, which she was very distressed about, just because of the memory, like obviously. But it was just a very amusing kind of like whatever, because I mean, can you imagine TSA agents like stopping this tiny little woman and then pulling this massive knife out of the bag? It was just it was only her. So but I wanted to, before we play the video, I just wanted to say, while we're watching the video, perhaps I thought I'd leave off with a little mathematical riddle that she and Marty gave me once at dinner. And they posed it to me, and I was much younger, and I spent the whole meal trying to figure out the mathematical principles of progression to get to the next numbers. And they basically said, here are the numbers. And you have to answer, what are the next 3 numbers? And it goes 4, 14, 23, 34, and 42. What are the next 3 numbers that come after that? Don't bother, you'll never figure it out. It's a riddle. But and I guess I'll either reveal the answer after the video, or you can think about it and forever be in Peoria. Anyway, play the video.
All right. Well, thank you, Paul. That is quite I'll have to think about that. But yes, so this is the tribute video that Paul put together for us, and I'm really glad that you did. So here we go.
Hey, I'm here in Washington, D.C., mourning the life of Associate Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. To so many, she was, or is, a hero, a powerful legal mind, and a protector of our civil rights and equal liberties. But to me, she was always simply Ruth, a woman of small stature, who has known me since I was about yay high. And we've discoursed everything under the sun, from the treatment of alligators to Bush v. Gore to Rosenkavalier by Strauss. She actually always wanted to be the Marshalline since she was a young girl, because the Marshalline gets the young lover that's half her age. To the naming of the Washington Redskins. She had many loves, Marty, her 2 children, but above most, opera and music. She would be absolutely delighted by the program that you're producing here, Patrick, bringing all of these musicians and incredible performers together, particularly at a time like this. And so proud of every single one of the people that you have on your show. how they persevered and continued in their crafts. She certainly knew of adversity growing up as a woman in the 1930s and 40s, but she didn't let anything stop her. So I thought what I'd like to do is just play a record or two here and reflect on some poignant quotes that from her that I think she would like to have been reiterated, particularly obviously in these troubled times. So what I have here is a His Master's Voice Victor phonograph made by the Victor Talking Machine Company in Camden, New Jersey in 1912. Serial number 535192, if you're into that sort of thing. Beautiful sound. So here's our first record. This is Dinah Shore with Russ Case and his orchestra, with Dinah obviously on vocals, from 1945. It's a little loud. You'd actually probably be surprised by how loud these things are in vivo. They pack punch. And you know, this was an extremely sophisticated piece of technology for the time, and therefore I believe requires an equally sophisticated piece of technology as a bit of a sound dip. My socks. Fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. Too often, we seem to try to ram our own viewpoints down each other's throats. Information is the silver bullet. Instead of beating each other down with our viewpoints, we should be lifting each other up with more information about issues or subjects that we care about. If you have a position, it's up to you to convince your audience by legitimate persuasion, not threats or intimidation or deal making. And then my next one is, so often in life, things that you regard as an impediment turn out to be great good fortune. And in that one, someone gave me a quote once that has helped me greatly in my life. Everything you're going through now is preparing you for what you asked for. And I found it to be very true. So I really like this one. So often in life, things that you regard as an impediment turn out to be great good fortune. This one was about her husband, Marty. Marty was an unusual man. In fact, he was the first boy I knew who cared that I had a brain. And I think that quote is, you know, obviously she's just talking about her husband, but, you know, it's so important for little girls, women, and you know, she had so much to say about Marty. But another one that I really liked was, I had a life partner who thought my work was as important as his. And I think that made all the difference for me. And, you know, that's so true today, you know, male or female, when you find just a partner who is as invested in your goals as you are, and vice versa. I think you've probably found the right person. Let's see how Dina's doing. So the record tends to skip here. Our next record is Just As Though You Were Here by Tommy Dorsey and his orchestra with a young Frank Sinatra on vocals from 1942. The state controlling a woman would mean denying her full autonomy and full equality. We forget about state controls because many of them that we encounter in our day-to-day lives are for our benefit. State control is the reason we have traffic lights and laws in general. Our liberties are usually taken away by the state under the guise of protecting us, safeguarding us, or making our lives easier. Are we okay with ceding any more of our autonomy? And even if we are today, what will the loss of that look like in 50 years? We forget to think about the implications beyond the here and now. And that's why I think that quote is particularly powerful. Next one is, you can disagree without being disagreeable. this was always an important one, because it's so true. It's wonderful that so many people are so impassioned today by this or that. But back to one of the previous ones, it's possible to dissent without creating anarchy, chaos, and havoc along the way. We should all strive to disagree without being disagreeable. Our next one is, Justice O'Connor has set the model. She had breast surgery and she was on the bench 9 days after her surgery. She said, "Now Ruth, have your chemotherapy on a Friday. That way you have the weekend to get over it." What? This philosophy that she had is something that we've lost over the generations. The idea that we never give in, we never give up, and we stay at it, we persevere, no matter how much we ache or pain or cry. There is more work to be done. There are many things of more importance. There is more change in the world to effect. Every single person out there is a difference maker. Don't be scared. Don't make excuses. If an 80-year-old, 5'3", 120-pound person can get through 4 rounds of cancer, you can get through your aching shoulder or emergency root canal. Pull yourself together and focus on the job, not the other noise and nonsense. Our next one is, real and enduring change happens one step at a time. Yes, 100% yes. Nothing happens overnight, or over the next night, or the next night. That's not how the world works. That's not how ideologies and cultures evolve. We're so used to having everything on demand today. When we start working out, it takes months to get to where we want to be. You can't just pick up a clarinet and know how to make beautiful music. It takes time, practice, failure, frustration, before it emerges like a phoenix. Put in the work today. Today, you must do what others won't, so that tomorrow you can do what others cannot. And finally, I would like to be remembered as someone who used whatever talent she had to do her work to the very best of her ability. My dear girl, that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of how I will remember you, or how an extremely grateful nation will remember you. And now I'd like to ask for a quick moment of silence from everyone. I had to pause a bit because I'm here in front of the stunning Washington National Cathedral, and Ruth was Jewish, but her funeral motorcade just passed right by me, and I was originally irritated by the sirens, but she just came right here. It's a moment. Anyway, I'd like to conclude with this last record, Leave Me a Beautiful Melody, by Dan Ritchie and his orchestra from 1929.
some little love song like you always used to sing to me. Will help to make it and the recollection cling to me. I know that my heart will ache in vain, but I won't mind the pain. If you leave me a beautiful melody.
All right. Well, thank you, Paul, for putting that together. And somebody was asking, what's your family's connection with Ruth? How did you meet her? How did you get to know her?
Well, actually, so it was my mother that was very close with Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, and they actually went to church together. And I was in the choir as I would have been, I don't know, 11 or 12 at the Washington National Cathedral. And it's been a very close place for me personally. And through Justice O'Connor, or Sandra, we met Ruth, and she became a very close friend of my mother. And that video that actually you saw with the cake, that was a cake.
Yeah, it looked like
well, she was doing a little Titanic thing, and it was kind of a joke. And this was after a particular case that had just happened, and the fish all have significance in there. But the idea was to have her doing the Titanic with the big cannons, the guns, in the back of that ship. But that was one of her birthday parties that my mother held. And that was the cake. That was all of that is actually sugar, if you can believe that, from Sylvia Weinstock, who was one of these incredible cake people that make amazing things. So our RBG has known me since I was very small, and again, as I mentioned, she wasn't notorious RBG. She wasn't Justice Ginsburg. She was Ruth. Like, she was just here all the time. And obviously, once I realized who she was, I came to dinner prepared to talk about something, because I realized I'm not talking to simply just Auntie Ruth. I'm talking to someone who will be talked about as a great patriot, and as someone that worked for the United States in order to make it what it is today, and to make it into a we hear about the legends of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Paul Revere, and honestly, as great American patriots, and she is one of those. It's just odd, because you read it in a history book, and it's like, and here I was seated next to dinner with her. Once I kind of to talk about the notorious RBG, she once said, she was once asked, and I think you'll appreciate this. She was once asked, are you aware of your notorious RBG, that nickname, and where it comes from, the notorious BIG, who's a rapper. And she said, I think the only similarity that I have with notorious BIG is the fact that we both grew up in Brooklyn. So anyway, but to answer the riddle, of 4, 14, 23, 34, 42? The answer is 50, 59, and 66, which I believe, I think this is right. God, you're away from New York for 2 seconds. I forget. But I believe it's the one train, yeah, for the subway. So and it's a riddle.
Not just
anyway,
you're on the quarantine speakeasy. We have little mind melds as well.
Well, RBG, obviously, I hope I'm sorry that her memory has now devolved so quickly into this fight, which is an important one, because it's important to, I believe, I think it's important to reflect on her lifetime, what she did. And she didn't do it as a rock star. She didn't do it running for president. She didn't do it running for political office. None of this was, she did this as a legal mind and as a juror, and with writing, like a 90-page opinion that will stand the test of time, I hope, and hopefully will lead us to being a better country, and better people as we are.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Paul. It's very much appreciated. And hearing those stories are really something. It's not something I was expecting. And so when you sent that the other day, I was surprised, and then looking at it today was really something. So thank you for that. And
well, make sure to have a little RBG special. I call it, in our house, it's the RBG, which is obviously 1 part Campari, 2 parts seltzer. So
you'll do the next cocktail segment on that, right?
yeah, really tough.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's the C train. That's not the 1 train, because 4th is West 4th Street. So it'd be 4, 14, 23, 34, 42, 50, 59, and 72.
That would make sense. And obviously because she was going to school at Columbia, because she was rejected from Harvard for being a woman. And Columbia let her in as a woman. And that's
right
where she met Marty.
Well, if it's the 1 train, because the 1 train is Columbia, because that's near Manhattan School of Music where I went. And that's the 116th exit. But it would be Christopher Street, then 14th Street. 4 would be the 1 train.
It's a math problem, Patrick.
It's interesting though. There's the whole, there's so many things on the show today about New York City. It's kind of someone was commenting about that in the chat, just how refreshing it is to hear about not the hardships of New York, but the kind of like a love letter to New York. And yeah. Well, we should actually probably wrap this up. We were supposed to finish at 8:30 and go to our DJ till 9, and it is now almost 9:30. But Paul, thank you again, and wonderful seeing you and chatting, and for sharing the stories.
Well, I do have to say I'm a little embarrassed, because I thought you were my friend, and you put me on after all these incredible performers, and I'm just like, what? Tough act to follow.
Well, tributes are, something you do to reflect at the end. So that was maybe the thought there. But, everyone's got their thing that, everyone, it kind of builds up to it. I mean, even what Queen was saying, I think it just ties in perfectly, But thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah. So again, that's Paul Ervin coming from Washington, D.C. and doing that wonderful tribute to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So we're at the end of the show. I see that Terry Waldo joined us, and do you want to say hi quickly? Hey Terry, you missed the segment. You were at the very beginning. It was awesome.
Hi,
you're live.
I'm live. Yeah, I slept through it, to tell you the truth. I was up all night putting together all of that, the thing that I did do. And so I decided to take a nap after I talked to you this afternoon. And when I woke up, it was 7:45.
Wow. Well, I have to say, you did an awesome job editing that. It looked fantastic. It sounded great. A few people were commenting on it. They loved your playing, and we kicked off the show with it. So it was a really wonderful treat.
Well, I'm happy about that because I learned how to do all of that this week.
Good.
How to edit, how to shoot it, how to do everything. So it was that's the main reason I wanted to do it. It was a learning experience, so that'll be easier next time.
Yeah, it's actually it's interesting because I think it's a very pandemic situation. So many musicians, myself included, have learned video things during this because we had to. Like there aren't other options to put your work out there, and it's wonderful to hear that you're joining those ranks. And you know,
yeah, at my late age,
well, you did great
into all this stuff. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Actually, I had a question. When you were when did you study with
Yubi?
Yeah, with Yubi. I mean, that's like it's amazing.
Well, I got to know Yubi. I first of all, I found out he was alive, and I'd had a record that he made in 1921 called the Charleston Rag, and I wanted to learn how to play it, so I looked for it and I couldn't find it. So somebody said, well, write to Yubi, he's still alive. So I did, and he sent me back a stack of manuscripts that high.
Really?
And I learned how to play the Charleston Rag from that, although it wasn't written down the way he played it, but I figured it out. And then we were both at the St. Louis Ragtime Festival, and I came on and I played the Charleston Rag, and he came on later, and he said, this man, Terry Waldo, played my Charleston Rag, and if he'd have been a woman, I would have married him. And then after that, I got a grant to produce a radio series for NPR, which I'm repeating on my current radio shows. And am I still on?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And he said I went to his house to do an interview with him for the radio broadcast for NPR, and I stayed with him, and he loved me. So then after that, he came to Columbus, Ohio, where I was both teaching school and so forth, and I had him on all the television programs there. He stayed at my house, and then from that point on, every time I was in New York, I just stayed with him. And I lived with him for long periods of time. When I came into New York to do shows and various things, and he helped me with it, I wrote down a bunch of his rags for publication. He called me his O-face son, and he sent me a letter to that effect. That he says, "I consider you my O-face son."
Wow.
So and I would see him off and on till the time he died.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So speaking of your podcast, is it every 2 weeks? Let everyone know when they can check it out.
Well, they can check it out anytime, but I get them up when I have time. So it's been approximately every 2 weeks. We've got the 9th one up. I would have had one out probably today, except that I was doing this thing for you, and the 10th one will be out in a day or so. And there's a lot of for people who like the music that you're keeping alive, Patrick. There's a lot of stories and a lot of interviews, with the people that have been famous in New York for making, well, actually all over the country. We did, I've done tributes to Eddie Davis and Peter Eklund, and played recordings of a lot of people that have been in the trad jazz scene over the years. So that's a big part of the show. This is Ragtime is the name of the podcast.
All right, great. Well, I think we got to wrap things up. We are a bit over, but we had some wonderful stories today and wonderful music. And thank you, Terry. Thank you for joining us and for, burning the midnight oil and editing that fantastic video.
Thank you for forcing me to get into the 21st century.
Well, we're glad that you were able to, and we'll have to do it again. Again, that is the one and only Terry Waldo, and thank you again for joining us, Terry. And,
my pleasure.
And we can't wait to see you performing live sometime soon.
Hope so.
So that is, we're getting to the end of the show, and again, we ran a little late, but hey, You know, we had some pretty amazing things going on here. It is a little on the late side, so why don't we just do a few tunes from our DJ Chad Mills. So Chad, if you want to fire up your computer audio, and I'm going to just wrap things up here and not spotlight that quite yet. We are back in 2 weeks. That's going to be October 10th, I believe. And I want to let everybody know that we are actually going to be doing a little bit more shooting out in the park. And if you would like to join us, tomorrow we're going to actually be out in Prospect Park because Danny Giannacucci is going to be doing some busking with his big band. And we're going to try and go out and shoot a little bit of video for an upcoming live stream with him. And yes, that is tomorrow, the 27th, in Prospect Park from 2 to 4 p.m. He put out a Facebook invite on that. And then it's going to be shown on October 10th, which is 2 weeks from today. He's also going to be debuting with us a new big band video like he did a couple months ago, featuring a kind of a remote recording with dancers and the big band, and the last one was fantastic. So you can join us tomorrow in Prospect Park from 2 to 4 p.m. And then next Sunday, it looks like we're going to be back in Prospect Park, and we're kind of cooking this up to try and do one last shoot before the weather changes. It looks like I will hopefully be posting about this in the next couple of days, but I'm just going to say unofficially, we're going to have Charles Turner and his band, and Mimi and the Pod Brothers, and then we'll hopefully some dance performances and a surprise third band. So we're trying to cook that up for next Sunday, which is October 4th. Look for us on Facebook and our e-blast for more information on that if you want to come out and check it out in the park. On that note, final reminder to send in a donation if you haven't done so already. We thank you all for sending them in who has done so already. Again, that's through PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. And if you're watching this after the live stream, you can always send that through the entire week coming up, all the way through Sunday, which is October 4th. And we'll be posting this on YouTube tomorrow, most likely, and it should be live, or the Facebook live version should be posted a little later this evening. So we want to thank you again for watching, and thank you all for the performers tonight. Terry Waldo, Don Spiro from the Green Fairy, the Blue Vipers. It was great having Billy and hearing his stories. GIN MINSKY, Queen Esther, and Paul Ervin doing the tribute for RBG. So we thank you again, and then Chad, why don't you get it going, and we'll do a after party. We'll just do, let's say, 3 tunes maybe. So if anyone wants to join, send a message in the chat, and we're going to open this up to the gallery view. So everyone who wants to join and dance on video, you are welcome to. And why don't we just call it a night on that. And thank you all once again, and we'll see you next time.